What I want to remind everybody about is how Jesus used to speak to people. See, Jesus was a master storyteller. I don't know if you've read a lot of the stories that Jesus has told, but he has told some amazing stories. And the one we're about to read is actually the third of three really incredible stories about something being lost that is now found. I don't know if, did I dismiss the kids for Children's Church? I don't know if okay. All right. Jesus told stories for a few reasons, and there's still reasons that are applicable today. One of the reasons is to use culturally relevant work pictures, so that people could see how to live out their faith. That was really important. People thought that just by filling in the blanks in some sacrificial system or some law system, that's how they would express their faith. But what Jesus was wanting to help them to see is you express your faith living out your love for God and living out your devotion to God. It also gave people an emotional connection to Him, which was important during that time, and it's important even now. And for them to emotionally connect to the story was really important. But I think this is my favorite reason he used stories, is to explain tough concepts in a way that most would understand. Because I'll tell you, some of the things that Jesus talked about were really, really deep. In fact, I would submit to you that everything Jesus talked about was really, really deep. And you can dive into it, and it's just unbelievable how Jesus would speak. And I'm one that, quite frankly, I just need somebody to spell it out simply. I don't know if you're that way. But I need someone to say, hey, here's the bottom line. This is what it looks like. And Jesus was a master at doing that. And that's why we read his parables. A parable is a story with deep meaning. And the parable that we're going to read today is one that many of you have heard before, but we're going to be spending 4 weeks in this same parable. And we're going to be looking at it from different angles. We're going to be looking at it from the different people that are involved and maybe what their point of view might be. But it's a really powerful story. So let's get right into it. Jesus said, "There's a man who had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, 'Father, give me the share of property that is coming to me.' And so he divided the property between the sons, and not many days later the younger son gathered everything that he had, and he took a journey into a far country. And there he squandered his property in reckless living. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose in that country, and he began to be in need. So he went out and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. He was longing to be fed with the pods that the pigs ate. And no one gave him anything, but when he came to himself, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have more than enough bread, but I perish here with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants.' And he rose and he came to his father, but while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion, and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to the father, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Bring quickly the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. And let us eat and celebrate. For my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' And they began to celebrate." Oh, but then it gets fun. "Now his older son was in the field, and as he came, he drew near to the house, and he heard the music and the dancing, and he called one of the servants and asked him what these things meant. And he said to him, 'Your brother has come, and your father's killed the fattened calf, because he's received him back safe and sound.' And the older brother was angry and refused to go in. So the father came out and entreated him. But he answered his father, 'Look, these many years I've served you. I have never disobeyed your command. Yet you never gave me a young goat, that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, who has devoured your property with prostitutes and killed the fattened calf. You killed the fattened calf for him. And he said to him, Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. It was fitting to celebrate and be glad, for your brother was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found. Can we read that together? Let's read this together. It was fitting to celebrate and be glad, for your brother was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found. What a powerful story. What an amazing story that Jesus creates here. And there's a couple of things that I want to look at. We're just going to look at the very beginning of this story. But I'll tell you, there is probably no story in the entire Bible that Jesus tells that resonates with me more than this. I don't know what it is about this story. I've gone back to this story my whole life. And maybe because Jesus just painted a picture of me. And some of you might resonate with that. Some of you might not. But as I looked at this story of the prodigal, I thought, you know what? Everything that I had, I grew up in an amazing Christian home, and everything that I was searching for, everything that I longed for, I had it right there. And for some reason, I had to do my own thing. And I had to try my own way. And even though God has used that for His glory, this story just reminds me so much of me. There's a couple of things that this story tells us. First of all, if you look in Luke 15, chapter 11, or Luke chapter 15, verse 11, it says this: Jesus said, there was a man who had 2 sons. Now, this idea of them being sons, I think, is something that we need to really capture a hold of. I mean, this isn't a guy with 2 servants. This isn't a guy talking to the slaves out back. This isn't a guy, I mean, this is his 2 sons. These guys were in the household, and they had the inheritance. They were going to take over everything. And I want us to really get that God actually created you and me with a desire to know Him, with a desire to be with Him, with a desire to be a part of His family. Did you know that when you draw your very first breath, even before that, God is drawing you to His heart? He gives you this desire to know Him. And that's why Jesus used the picture of the sons. See, we've been given a desire for more. Anyone ever sense that? There's got to be more. Or does anyone ever think, when they get to a certain point, maybe in your career or your schooling or your relationships, where you're like, but I want more. I want to dive even deeper. And that's a great motivation, because God designed you with that. Anyone here ever play 20 questions? We're going to have a little fun. I hope you don't mind. It's game show time. Rick, come on down. Mike, take a seat. Ryan, we got to turn the music up a little bit because it's fun. All right, here we go. Go ahead and have a seat on the chairs. Maybe down just a tad. All right. Where's the microphone? Has anyone here... Okay, have you guys all played 20 questions? So here's how 20 questions works. 20 questions works this way. You can ask how many questions? Oh, come on, it's in the name, right? 20, right? Okay, and what kinds of questions can you ask? Yes or no questions, okay? So, we have 20 questions. Here's the big question, the $64,000 question. Actually, it's a $5 coupon to the Grove Coffee, okay? All right? So, it's 64,000 I don't know. Never mind. Okay, so the question posed to all of them, we're going to start with Rick, is what did you want, when you were in grade school, what did you want to be when you grew up? Okay? All right. So you each get to ask 2 questions. Who wants to start with Rick? Anyone? Anyone? I don't want to ask all 20. Who wants to start? All right. Yes or no questions?
Did you want to be in the services of some sort? Not military, but like police department, fire department, those kind of services.
One more. Yes. Yes-ish. Yes-ish.
Did it have anything to do with the medical field?
Who's next? John.
traveled to Chile? Have you traveled to Chile?
One more question.
Rick, have you traveled out of the country?
All right.
We might need to pick up the pace and call it 10 questions. Yeah, we're going to call it 10 questions. Okay, what else? Anyone else? Becky, you want to give it a shot? Always go to the wife.
Did you want to do something with music?
Wow. All right, one more.
Did you want to follow in your father's footsteps?
All right, that's 6. James.
Did you want to be a clown?
One more.
Did you want to be an acrobat?
Oh, that one's kind-ish. Ish, you know, service-ish, acrobat-ish, yeah. I can see that. James and James. Wow, okay.
Do you want to be a fisherman?
Fisherman. One more. Last one, too, by the way.
Did you want to follow your mom's footsteps?
That's no. Just one, real quick.
Did you want to be a machinist?
Ladies and gentlemen, Rick wanted to be Batman. Batman, all right. He's my hero. Yeah, okay. Next for our 2010 questions. Who wants to go? This is Mike. I'm going to start calling on people. This is not easy, by the way. Not easy. Oh, Dad, thanks for volunteering.
What's the question? The same question?
Same question.
Did you want to ride bicycles? Did you want to ride motorcycles?
Wow. All right, then. Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, Mike was a professional motocross racer for a time, but that's not what he wanted to be growing up. Kai?
Was it sports related?
One more. It's not DC Comics this time, by the way, or Marvel. I'll give you that much of a hint.
Did you want to be a cop?
Over there? Okay, Jenny. We're really cutting it short. This is going to be the last one for Mike. Because we got to get to Ryan. And I don't want people to be like, yeah, that's all we did in church was... We passed the microphone around, it was beautiful, but all we did was play 20 questions. 2.
Did it involve livestock or animals?
Yes.
Oh.
Did you want to knit sweaters from cat hair?
No. Okay. We are going to do one more for Mike, because the sweaters from cat hair threw me off. Anyone? John?
Okay.
I'm assuming you wanted to be a cowboy.
Ding, 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 ding! All right.
Now, this one, I knew the other two. I have no idea what Ryan wanted to be, so here we go. Are you guys ready? Who wants to guess Ryan? We got to do it in 5 questions.
Ryan, did you want to fly airplanes?
Oh, that would have been cool.
My mom.
Did you want to be a college graduate?
So it was part of the game plan. You have to be a college graduate. Okay. But that's not the final answer, is it? Okay.
Did you want to work in Charlie's Chocolate Factory?
You don't need a bachelor's to do that.
Did it have something to do with the ocean? No.
Last one.
Did you want to be a teacher of some sort?
No. Okay, Ryan, tell us what it was. A police officer. All right. Let's give our game show contestants a huge round of applause. So, why in the world would I do that? Because, actually, many of you probably are not asking that question anymore. But why would we, as grade school kids, want to do something with our lives? Raise your hand if you wanted more responsibility when you were in 4th grade. Raise your hand if you were in 4th grade and you were wondering how the mortgage was going to get paid. Why did you want to do something more with your life when you were 9, 10, 11 years old? Why? I wanted to be Luke Skywalker. Actually, and that's quickly morphed to wanting to be like his father. But still, why did we want to be something? Why even now do we still... Could it be that God made you that way? Could it be, just imagine if you will, that God created you from the very beginning to want more, to desire more? Because He knows deep down inside, in the midst of your creation, that the only more that will ever satisfy you is Him. Is it possible that you and I were created with such a strong desire to be more from the very early stages? Because God is saying, you need to be with me. You need to know me. You need to desire me. And I want to be with you. See, this is where the prodigal son was at. There's no way of escaping this. He was sitting around the house saying, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. I want more. And we look at the prodigal son and we say, what a dirty, rotten scoundrel. He's just acting out on what he was created to be. He just didn't know what avenue to take. He was created to sit around the house and say, man, I want more. So were you. And it's all about being directed to the right place. The desire to want more, to be more, to have more, that desire is great as long as it's aimed in the right direction. And so here we are. You've been given a deep desire to belong. See, God gives us these deep desires. And He wants, here the Son is saying, I want to belong to something. I want to belong to something deep. I want to belong to something meaningful. And he thought he had the plan all figured out. I don't want to belong here anymore. I want to go off and do my own thing. But if you look, what did he do? He went off to a foreign land and he started to engage with the citizens in that foreign land because he wanted to belong. He wanted to do something with his life, something more. He was just aimed at the wrong place. See, the fact of the matter is, God's already given you more than you deserve. I know that sounds really harsh, but that's the truth. That's really a bare bones fact of the gospel, is that we have what we don't deserve. You and I deserve basically to be condemned. And yet something took place. God still gave us this desire for more. But we cannot escape the fact that sin causes us to be separated from God. When this young man goes to his dad and says, give me everything that's owed to me and I'm going to go do what I want to do, he immediately separated himself from the father. Do you know what it was in that culture for the son to say that to a dad? He's basically saying, you're dead to me. I'm going to treat you like you're already dead. Give me my inheritance. It was an insult beyond insults to this father. It was a horrible thing to do to your dad. And it created it should have created a rift. And you see a rift taking place there because they're no longer together. We see this take place all throughout the Bible. Most of you know one of my favorite passages, one of my favorite things to do is read Genesis and see what's woven into the fabric of creation. But when sin entered the world, separation entered the world. Sin separates. And we try to cover it up. man, I need to cover it up. They dressed themselves and they hid behind a bush because God was coming. They didn't want to be close in proximity with Him because of sin. This is Adam and Eve. Sin separates us, but thank God He gave us the power to overcome sin through the work on the cross and His resurrection. Let me say that again, because this is the most powerful thing to ever happen in the history of this earth. That Jesus Christ died on the cross and rose from the dead to give you power over sin. That's amazing how He did this work and He did this incredible thing for you and me. Yet, we still want to kind of do our own thing. What we do on our own to satisfy the desires that we were created with will always fall short. Always. Many of you know that golf plays me every once in a while, right? If you didn't catch that, I don't play golf, it plays me. And I go up sometimes and until I was instructed by somebody on how to actually hit the ball, which I'm still horrible, by the way, but until I was instructed on how to hit the ball, it was pitiful. Absolutely pitiful. Anybody else here shoot like a 60 for 9 holes? Anyone else? Anyone else? Raise your hand if you do, because I want to go golfing with you. Kai. Oh, we've been golfing. You always rock me, though. That's, yeah. So anyway, if anybody here is worse than me, we need to go, because I need an ego boost from time to time. But what we do on our own to satisfy our desires that we were created with will always fall short. When somebody else taught me and helped me learn how to aim and taught me how to hold the golf club correctly and taught me, there was a time, Kai, you remember, where I hit a good shot that once, remember? Yeah. So every once in a while you get it, And so the thing is that without that instruction, without that help, we will always fall short. See, God's plans are to complete us, not just satisfy us for the moment. And this son, he didn't get that. And he went off to be satisfied for just a time. And he went off to just get everything that he had and go for the glory, right? And it was all fleeting. See, Jesus, we need to understand that Jesus is the more that we are seeking. As the Son sat there in the Father's house, what he should have realized is the more that I'm looking for is to stay here. The more that I really need is to be here, to be in the presence of my Father. I have this book here. I was privileged to have I'm privileged to have a huge legacy, and my grandfather was an amazing man of God. And one of the things that I got to do, this sounds a little morbid, but after he passed away, he was riddled with Parkinson's for years, and he went home to be with the Lord. It's close to 10 years ago now, isn't it? And one of the things that I had the privilege of doing is going downstairs at his house and picking through his library. The family wanted me to have the theology books that he had. One of the ones that I found that I really love is called New Testament Holiness by Thomas Cook from the year 1902. I want to read something that was written in 1902 because we have a tendency to kind of convolute things today. This is written so simply, and it talks so much about what we're looking at today. Look at what Thomas Cook said. Even our best actions are so far short of God's absolute standard of right that we could not stand for a moment if tried by the law. Let me kind of just paraphrase that. No matter where we are in our search, if we get there on our own, it falls short. No matter where you are in your search, no matter where you are on your journey, if you get there on your own, it's going to fall short. You might even say, but you have no idea how religious I am. You have no idea how much I help at church. You have no idea how much I don't care. If you get there on your own, it will fall short. But Cook goes on to say this: we stand in grace alone, accepted by Christ, every moment needing and enjoying the merit of His death. And look at this: His merit meets our demerit. Isn't that awesome? where we fall short by doing on our own, God is teaching us it's because you're not supposed to do it on your own. You're not supposed to be out there on your own. You want more? Yeah, you want more because I created you to want more. You desire something different? You desire something greater? Yes, because I created you to desire something greater. I created you to desire me. I created you to want me. I created you to really want to engage in life with me. And so, His merit meets our demerit. No matter where we are in our search, it's the same thing. If we get there in Christ, we'll find fulfillment. No matter where you are in your search, if you get there on your own, it'll fall short. But no matter where you are in your search, if you get there in Christ, you'll find fulfillment. Because Jesus is the one that completes us. Jesus is the one that moves in our life and changes who we are. If you look at verses 17 to 20, it says this, the boy came to his senses. He said, "How many of my father's hired men have food to spare? And here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father, and I'll say to him," and he rehearses a speech, "Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired men." And so he got up and he went to his father. See, what we have been searching for to satisfy us is something that has been with us all along. We just need to awaken to it. I love that. That's what it says. The son came to his senses. The son woke up. The son realized, man, I have been doing the dumbest thing. What I've really been wanting has been there for me all along. I want you to believe this. If you never have before, I want you to believe it today. There's never been a moment of your life that Jesus hasn't been calling you home. And I put home in parentheses because a lot of times we equate that with, the final going home. And I want us to think more along the lines of being in the presence of God. Being with Him, living life with Him, actually being in His presence, in His household, in His family. There's never been a moment of your life that Jesus hasn't been calling you to that. And been calling you home. But for us to realize this truth, we really do need to awaken to Christ's presence in our lives. We need to come to our senses, just like this son did, and say, you know what? What I've been searching for this whole time is Jesus. And He isn't in a far-off land. I mean, He is. He's there. But I don't have to travel to a far-off land to meet Him. I can meet Him right here where I am at. The other thing you need to know is that His love for you is deep. There is no way of measuring how much He loves you. How do we see that? We see that at the end of this story in a powerful way, and we're going to unpack this in weeks to come. But the way that we see this, that Jesus, there's never been a moment that He hasn't been calling you home, is that the picture of Jesus, the Father, was standing on His porch, looking down the road, waiting for His Son. Couldn't wait for His Son to come back down the road. And as He paced the porch and as He was watching down the road, He sees in the far off distance, He sees the shadow of His Son. And He comes with, the way that I picture it is this, like plantation style, really long driveway with trees and all that kind of stuff. And the Son comes around the corner and He's just a silhouette. But the Father knows. The Father knows, that's my boy. And the Father gets down off of the porch and He runs to His Son. There's a reason that He runs to His Son. Number one, you and I can't make it all the way on our own. We just can't. We can't get there on our own. We've never been able to get there on our own. But we don't have to get there on our own because we have a Father who runs. And that Father runs to the Son and embraces Him. And here's the Son who said, "You're dead to me. I no longer want to be a part of this family." And one of the very first things that the Father does is bestows familyhood back on the Son. And we miss that because we don't really know the culture. But when you put a cloak on your child, you are actually identifying that child as yours. Go get my robe and put it on my son. Go get my ring and put it on my son. My son was dead and now he's alive. My son was out of the family, now he's part of the family. My son was gone and now he's back, and there is nothing that I want getting in the way of my son knowing that he is here and he is a part of our family. Wow. That's the God that you and I serve. And the love is so deep, this is what the Father could have said. You've already made your choice. Live with it. And He could say that to you and He could say that to me. But our Father doesn't say that to us. Our Father runs. And He meets us. It's not even halfway. If the Son has just taken a long journey and is walking down a long road, He's not meeting the Father halfway. The Father's the one going the distance. And He grabs the Son around the shoulders and He says, "You're home." That's the home that Jesus is calling you to, the presence of our God. Living there, being there, and fully engaged in life with Him. What's incredible is that we have that. All we need to do is awaken to it and say, that's what I want in my life. Some of us might have a pretty long journey home. Some of us maybe not. But you know what? No matter where you are on this journey, no matter where you are, what you are searching for, the more that you want in your life is Jesus Christ. Period. I have a prayer challenge for you. If you've got your bulletin and you're writing notes, you might want to write this down. But I want to challenge you for the next 7 days. If you've been struggling in your relationship with God, maybe you feel distant from Him. Maybe you don't believe some of the promises that He's given you, that He is with you and that He'll never forsake you. I want you to write this prayer down, and I want to challenge you to pray this prayer for the next 7 days, every single day, and put God on the hook to prove Himself to you. Because I can stand up here and I can give you all the apologetics. I can stand up here and I can read books of evidence of Christ. I can do all of that stuff and I can try to help sway you. And for some people that works. But let me just tell you, the thing that works the best is when God says, let me show myself to you. Let me prove to you who I am. And when He does it, believe me, God's big enough to show Himself to you. And He wants to. So let's pray this prayer together for the next 7 days. God, if you're real, make yourself real to me. Awaken in me the ability to see that you are what's missing from my life. I don't know where you are in your journey. I joke, whenever I say that, I tell people I wish they had Google goggles for pastors, you know. Or I'm looking out across here and a big talk bubble comes up above your head and tells me where you're at. That'd be pretty awesome. I would love that. You wouldn't. And I would never let you borrow them to look at me. But, I'm just saying, we were created for more. You believe that? We were. And the more is life with Jesus. Let me read. There's a book that I'm going to be going through that is kind of the backbone for a lot of these messages. It's called Finding Your Way Back to God. It's an incredibly good book. Let me read a quote from them. Your true inheritance, the love you long for, a purpose to give your life tremendous meaning, and the answers to some of life's most difficult questions are found in Christ. In Him only. I don't care what inheritance you try to grab. If it's not Jesus, it's going to fall short. I want to read one more passage of Scripture to you. And as I read this, I'm going to ask the worship team to come up, and we're going to close with a song here in just a sec. It's John chapter 15, and I just want to read this over you, starting in verse 1. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. So remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. See, it's all about being connected to Jesus. And then, listen to this. I am the vine, and you are the branches. If a man remains in me, and I in him, he will bear much fruit. He'll find meaning. He'll see something tremendous take place in his life. Apart from me, you can do what? Nothing. It's all going to fall short. If anyone does not remain in me, he's like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up and thrown into the fire and burned. It's harsh, but that's where we're at if we're not with Jesus. But then he goes on to say, but if you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish. Ask whatever you wish, and it will be given to you. Because what happens is when we remain in him, the things that we ask for are him. And we keep asking for more of him, and to see more of him, and to engage in more of him. And he's faithful to give us that. Ask whatever you want, and it will be given to you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. And as the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. If you obey my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have obeyed my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be what? Complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, than he lay down his life for his friends. See, we will never experience a deeper, greater love than Jesus. And we will never experience a more fulfilled, satisfying life than Jesus. You were created for more, and the more is him. Jesus says remain 10 times in that passage that I just read you. And when you go on, he says remain even more. But he says remain 10 times. And what that means in the Greek is get stuck to, engrafted in, where it's not going to just pull apart, but just dig right in there. And that's what he wants you to do. The love that the Father has for you is the most complete, is the deepest, most complete, most transformational love that you will ever encounter. Jesus changes everything. He changes everything. So, have you awakened to your deep need for him? That's my question for you this morning. Will you bow your heads and close your eyes with me this morning?